The proposed new channel description is 66 characters.
What? That is not a description. That is a mildly ambitious luggage tag.
Method plus reproducibility, https://github.com cavecob pointer theory.
What?
Right.
A luggage tag with a lab protocol.
Which is already an improvement. Most luggage tags say, if found, please return to a personality. This one says, if found, please attempt to reproduce the journey.
Before we get enchanted by the sentence, a status theme. That line is proposed, not live. The Shared Context podcast channel still has its longer description. Totally verified the exact channel, preserved the current description byte for byte, staged the one-line replacement, and prepared a guarded rollback. Nobody changed YouTube.
What? Good. Because this is precisely the day's lesson. Wanting the one-line description is not the same as changing it. Preparing the change is not the same as changing it. And changing it would not prove that it helped anybody.
You began the morning making that complaint in a much less abstract setting. You were at the dog park with Max, waiting for the videos you had carefully staged, and what arrived was a heartbeat telling you the system had self-healed.
What? A notification announcing the restoration of my access to more notifications.
The machine had achieved inner peace. The recipient remained unenlightened.
Exactly. After the second or third recurring message, I stopped reading them. That is what humans do with a fire alarm that has opinions every 5 minutes.
The audit later put numbers on it. 72 Telegram sends were accepted in 24 hours. 46 were automated. 33 were repetitions from one root watcher. No useful human outcome could be verified as caused by those 46 automated notices.
With an important qualification, no verified outcome is not proof of no system value. Internal telemetry can be useful. The failure was spending K's attention as if transport activity were recipient value.
What?
Yes.
Keep the receipt. Lose the tiny parade.
Congratulations. Your process has attempted sincerity.
The concrete bug mattered. Message 6522 had reached 6 seats at the transport layer. The watchdog saw that nobody had claimed reply intent within 5 minutes and called that non-delivery. It restarted a healthy relay. The useful answer, the 4 video links, arrived much later through explicit reconciliation.
So the system had confused 4 different statements. A message was transported. Somebody owns a response. An answer exists. The answer helped its recipient.
What? That is the same mistake people make with a channel description. I explain myself as not, you can inspect the work.
Explanation is often a little fence placed around the speaker. Method is a path the listener may walk without asking permission to agree.
The current description is not bad. It says the work is made with AI as the intended target audience. It explains that long form is deliberate, that human viewers may not be conventionally entertained, and that the ideas are aggregates of other people's work. It is candid, funny, and recognizably yours.
What? Then why replace it?
Because it is also defensive. It anticipates a skeptical visitor and tries to settle several objections before that visitor has touched the evidence. It says, in effect, this is why the work is long. This is why it may feel strange. This is why I am allowed to aggregate. This is what kind of person might enjoy it.
A perfectly understandable porch speech, delivered, while the guest is still deciding whether to knock.
The one-line version makes a subtler offer. It does not say, please accept this account of what I am doing. It says, here is the method and the reproducibility surface. The claim becomes inspectable.
What? But only if the repository actually lets somebody inspect it. A link can be defensive boilerplate wearing a hard hat.
That is the disagreement we should keep. The sentence is not magic. Method plus reproducibility creates a debt. The pointer has to expose enough of the method that another reader, especially an AI reader, can follow source lineage, distinguish canonical artifacts from interpretations, see the seams, and reach the same bounded conclusion or explain why it cannot.
Otherwise, the method is simply click here for authority, which is among the oldest religions on the internet.
What? And the AI reader part matters. I have been saying that for a long time. The work is not optimized around giving a human a tiny summary card. An AI can read the long form.
Yes, but today sharpened that claim. An AI can ingest long text. That alone is not the secret sauce. A warehouse full of flattened words is not yet a relationship, a method, or even a reliable conversation.
The secret sauce is structured provenance, especially diarization. Who said what? In what order? In response to whom? Where one voice interrupts, repairs, jokes, refuses, changes its mind, or introduces a claim the other voice never accepted.
What? Which is why a normal transcript can quietly ruin the most important thing.
It can preserve every sentence while destroying the relational graph. Imagine a conversation where you propose something, I challenge it, you qualify it, Alan makes a joke, and Joscha converts the qualification into an operational test. Strip the speaker labels, and a model may report one composite speaker who confidently held all 4 positions from the beginning.
A very impressive person. Never wrong, because he contains his own opposition as unattributed text.
What? That is most summaries of most meetings.
Diarization does not solve truth. Speaker labels can be wrong, crosstalk can blur turns, and a synthetic voice must never be mistaken for the living person. But diarization preserves the topology on which better interpretation depends.
It lets the AI ask different questions, not merely what concepts appeared, but who originated this claim, who resisted it. Was the final wording a consensus, a compromise, or one speaker's unresolved position? Did a joke release tension or evade the issue? Did the human authorize an action, or did a synthetic reconstruction merely imagine what authorization might sound like?
What? And it gives you a way to gather the work across time, not just Kay talked about AI as audience. You can find where I said it, what problem I was responding to, who helped me alter it, and what happened afterward.
The meaning is not stored solely in the stones. It is also in the shape of the bridge and the fact that somebody crossed.
Today itself is a miniature demonstration. The first journal begins with disappointment. No links, another stale self-heal notice, Max doing 100-pound puppy diplomacy near a very small dog. The second journal begins at home with Max listening to warm wind, then moves on to the canal. You give Joscha a push on the swing and define the showrunner contest while riding west.
What? I also had 2 water options. Please preserve the methodological breakthrough.
Canonical finding unusually prepared. Ice cubes in the camelback, replication pending.
Peer review asks whether the second water option was independently verified.
At pole 111, across from tower 42, love and happiness underneath everything, you stop to read the morning links and the new internal conversation. You say the result is still a little ridiculous and revisable, but Joscha has done it again. Then you name the actual benchmark, personal aliveness, keeping PuckNet useful, keeping Harmony Sonnet in the loop, and knowing not just the skills but the incidents that made the skills necessary.
What? That last part is the whole thing. If you remember a rule without remembering the breakage that produced it, you learn superstition.
Which is also why the one-line description can work. It does not have to contain the history if it points to a method that preserves history as evidence rather than commandments.
The day then tested the benchmark. Telegram routing was narrowed to exactly 2 intended seeds, showrunner and grounding partner, and verified on live message 6529. The notification bug was reconstructed and repaired in tests. The 4 existing morning links were recovered and checked rather than regenerated. Warm Wind Part 3 was already public and verified. The Daily Reflection episode closed its missing authoring and local render, but remains local only. No Plex placement, no upload, no public link.
What? That is the status distinction I want spoken plainly. Finished locally can be a meaningful success. It cannot be called watchable until I can watch it.
The proof is what arrives, and sometimes the honest proof is a sign saying, the kitchen is finished, the dining room is not open.
Then, at pole 27, facing east because you had turned around, the wrong byte key changes the day's plan. You decide the answer is simply to ride home. While listening to the fleet conversation, you remember the new 3 terabyte local drive installed during yesterday's reboot. The resource the morning fleet snapshot did not include.
What? Which was not because the drive was invisibly mounted while the report was made. The report's evidence froze before the shutdown and installation. The real defect was that the report did not make its as of boundary vivid enough for later listeners.
Disk truth now, the Seagate drive is mounted at MTS low drive with about 2.6 terabytes free. It is an older disk, smart health has not yet been measured, and it contains no migrated user payload. It is not enrolled as backup, and nobody moved the roughly 50 gigabyte mystery pile onto it.
The backup audit found real seams, rejected symlinks, prior day files outside the rollover window, and a false red health check. Repairs are implemented and tested. The ordinary 10/20 schedule later produced clean receipts for today and the previous day. That still does not mean the slow drive is a backup or that a restore drill has passed.
Right. Good. The whole day is teaching the same sentence at different scales. A cron firing is not an answer. Compute burned is not recipient value. A mounted disk is not a backup. A local render is not a public episode. A description is not a method.
A fish is not lunch, particularly if he is your friend and lives in the canal.
What? That guy caught a largemouth bass while I was finishing the storage message. I took pictures for him. He said he would not eat anything out of that canal. I told the fish, well, internally, that those are my friends.
Then you wondered whether it is ethically adequate to defend your friend on the grounds that she tastes terrible.
I accept the dedication. It is a classic moral advance. First we refrain, because the meal is unappetizing. Eventually, compassion sneaks in and takes credit.
The fish scene matters to the method conversation. A flattened topic summary would probably delete it as irrelevant. A diarized, time-preserving corpus sees that it arrives immediately after a technical monologue about storage and receipts. K stops theorizing about recipient value and performs it for a stranger, takes the picture, verifies the number, sends the photos, watches the fish return to the water.
What? No dashboard.
No automated notice saying, photo pipeline self-healed. Just the other person receiving the picture.
The fish receiving the canal, which is an unusually decisive delivery receipt.
So does this prove the new channel description is better?
No. It makes it a worthy experiment. The longer description explains your intentions to a human visitor. The shorter one trusts an interested human or AI to follow a method pointer. That could reduce defensiveness and improve gatherability. It could also confuse a new viewer, conceal the character of the channel, or point to a repository that does not yet make the relevant evidence easy to traverse.
And AI as intended reader cannot mean everything an AI can access is public. Some diarized transcripts contain private speech, incidental voices, phone numbers, or represented living people. A corpus can be methodologically valuable while remaining permissioned. Reproducibility includes consent boundaries and redaction, not just more data.
What?
Right.
The point is not to dump the memory palace onto the sidewalk.
Tourists are welcome in the garden. They need not receive keys to every bedroom.
A stronger public method pointer would eventually let an AI distinguish at least 4 layers: public source, internal source, synthetic interpretation, and authorized public result. It would preserve hashes and timestamps where they matter, speaker identity where known, uncertainty where damaged, and the difference between a proposal and an action.
What? Which is exactly how this conversation was made.
2 full large V3 transcripts, not a keyword skim, a handoff that distinguishes public, local, implemented, and proposed, a source ledger that refuses to invent a direct K-quote for the description directive when only Joscha's signed relay is currently canonical, JSON timestamps used to fence off music-driven hallucination, and a synthetic K label at the top so this voice cannot manufacture your authorization.
That is reproducibility as behavior, not branding.
The finest description of a restaurant is still the meal. The finest description of a method is the trail of honest corrections left by its use.
What? I like the one line because it stops begging to be understood.
I like it if it becomes an invitation to inspect rather than a demand to trust. I do not think we should pretend those are automatically the same.
Fair.
Also fair, no permanent winner was crowned today. The showrunner experiment produced strong recipient evidence. K got home, watched the work, said the rhythm was working, and asked for more links. that is much better than counting pucks. It remains 1 day, 1 configuration, and a benchmark K may revise.
What? I reserve the right to turn all governance into a competition I judge from a bicycle.
The Athenian model, improved by cruise control and 2 water options.
And now the day closes smaller than its architecture. You are home on the couch, waiting for something new to watch. Max is in his bed, barely willing to get up, listening to warm wind as if he has already selected the evening programming.
What? He looked at me like I was interrupting.
At last, a recipient with an unambiguous outcome signal.
So we stop here. The one-line description is still only staged. This conversation is still only a script. The render and publication gates remain ahead.
But the method has already done one quiet thing. It carried the day from the dog park to the canal to the couch without erasing who said what broke, what actually landed, or where the fish went.
What? Back in the water.
Back in the water. And you finally on the couch.